Hey, good to have you with us. This video is intended to introduce our MCDU Emulator Project. Right now, we're working on version 3 of this software. This is a complete replacement for version 2, and it's a major step forward in terms of what it can do and how it performs. The first thing you will notice is the whole interface is upgraded and improved for enhanced realism, and it is more interactive with animation and realistic timing. So things happen on the screen almost exactly as they do on the real aircraft. It's not totally ready yet, but let's take a look at some of the improvements to give you an idea of what to expect when it becomes available for downloads. Now, as you can see, when the device is first loaded, the power is not on yet. So the ready light on the top wall of Inertial is lit up. That indicates the power is off but available. To switch it on, all we need to do is press the right key over on the right hand side of the MCDU. This opens the MCDU to whatever page was previously stored in memory. But since there are no pages stored in memory, it just defaults to the MCDU menu. Your first instinct when presented with a menu may be to select something from it, but in this case, that won't be very useful. There's only one active system available to select, which is the green one at the top. The other two options are shown in amber for the moment, which means they are installed but not yet available. If we do select the FMGC option, it will take a moment to indicate what was selected and then go there. This will take us into the aircraft status page, where we can find out some basic information. But this is not needed yet, so we'll come back to it later. Pressing the data key will take us into the Data Index A page, also known as Data Index 1. At this point, the AOS is not in alignment, so the only helpful system is a GPS monitor. Let's take a look at that. Now you can see there are two GPS units installed, and they both show identical information, which is what we want to see. If the information from them was different, it would trigger a mismatch error, and we get a warning about that on the scratch line. Now, what we normally do is check the coordinates shown on the top line match the information shown on the airport chart or aerodrome diagram. Then, what you should do is check the GPS altitude field shown in the center of the screen just under the clock. And that number should be about 30 feet higher than the elevation shown on the chart. Once you've confirmed that, you can check what mode you're in. That is when you will notice that the system is not actually reading from the AOS, but using the magnetic heading as a reference. It is telling us we need to switch on the AOS system. We'll go back to the Data Index menu and select Position Monitor. You can see all the fields are blanked, and there's the amber prompt telling us to align the AOS. This is done by going to the three IRS switches on the overhead panel and switching them from off to nav. It will take some time for those to become active, but you will see the three IRS labels on the position monitor screen change to numbers. These are timer countdowns, telling us how many minutes and deciminutes remain before the IRS alignment is expected to be completed. You will notice these three values are not perfectly in sync with each other, and that's because it's physically impossible to move all three switches at the same time. So there's a very slight delay between each one. Now the IRS is in alignment mode, which means it's not aligned yet, but it's trying to align. We'll go back to the data index and select the IRS monitor. Now we see the same countdown info presented in a slightly different way. For each IRS, there is a TTN line, meaning time to nap, which is how much time is remaining until the IRS reaches nap mode. Selecting IRS 1 shows us the same information we've already seen, but it will change once the timer finally gets down to 0. We don't want you to have to wait for the whole alignment time while you're watching this video, so we'll jump ahead a little bit. When each IRS value is obtained, we should see they all have matching information, and that information should match the GPS information. Also, you can see this blue freeze prompt, which means we can stop the IRS from updating so we can write down the information or communicate it or whatever we need to do. Freezing it changes the title line to show that it was frozen and when it was frozen. It also gives us an unfreeze prompt so we can return to live updates if the aircraft is moving. Now that the IRS has been aligned, we can see the GPS monitor has been updated to show the change of status. And speaking of status, we can now go back to the AC status page and I'll tell you about that. From here, we can swap the active navigation database if it seems to be out of date. To do that, we just press LSK3 left and it will swap them around for us. We can swap it back by pressing again. To change the idle and perf factors, we need to enter the correct code. This is what happens if we enter a bad code. But if we enter the correct code, it lets us change the factors. We can also go to the other status pages, but those are not very interesting, and you will very rarely have a reason to go there. Well, that's just the first steps of the initialization procedures, but there's plenty more you'll be able to see and do. I hope you will consider supporting us to complete this project because it is going to be something really great for aviation education. I just want to say this is not a monetized video. So if you're seeing any ads, we're not making any money from those. It's all going to Google and, we need it more than they do. And all of our financing for this project comes from our Patreon supporters directly. You will find our Patreon link in the video description, and of course also it will help if you like this video and share it with any other aviation enthusiasts you may know who might appreciate this. We have really big plans beyond just finishing this project, and as well as providing a full tutorial for this aircraft, we also hope to move on to others such as the Boeing 737 or ATR 72, among others. So we'll just keep doing the best we can for as long as we can. You may be wondering who will benefit from this, so I'll tell you why this project is important. You may have noticed that 2025 has had an unusual number of aviation mishaps. Many of those incidents can be attributed to insufficient training. The problem is the path to becoming a pilot is not an easy one, and it's certainly not cheap. Becoming an airline pilot requires even more study, time, and money. For those who are airline training or considering changing their type rating, having an opportunity to practice and recap their study content is very valuable. Simulator pilots now have the opportunity to learn more about how the avionics on the plane work, and Having more understanding can help make the whole simulation experience more enjoyable. Engineering students and technicians can also benefit from systems like this. And even as a passenger, you can feel more confident knowing that you contributed something to the pilot's education. For those of you who have already supported us, I sincerely thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. But truthfully, we need to get a lot more support in order to complete our mission. So hopefully this video will help us achieve that. Thanks for watching, and if you want to stay up to date with our latest developments, be sure to subscribe.